award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. We have a fun show for you today. I'm very excited to be here on location on the South Holston River. We just finished up a MOU partnership ceremony here, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and talk about some trout fishing and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm happy to have Mr. Don King helping me co-host today.
You bet, Jason. Thanks for the invite.
As always, we're not around the poker table today, but we are on location. That's always fun. And I got Mr. Frank Fiss with us. He's our fisheries chief here at TWRA, and glad to have him.
Glad to be here.
And Mr. Alan Clare, the Vice President of River Resources Stewardship with TVA.
That's correct. Glad to be here.
I got it right. Alan, we're glad you're here with us. It's been a fun day. TVA organized a little ceremony today, and we celebrated this partnership between TWRA, TVA, Fish and Wildlife Service, and Georgia.
Yeah.
So we're going to have more trout this year. In a few years to come.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it was a ceremonial thing. About 150 fish were released today and off the bridge, and so you might want to check the web for the video and the pictures of that. So
yeah, coming soon. Neat. Yeah, and also check your flow schedules and get out here and try to catch some of those fish.
Man. Yeah. I feel like I'm coming home. When I came into the parking lot this morning, it all came back to me. In 2001, we shot one of the first episodes of Tennessee's Wild Side right here. We had Alan Ricks, who was our Region 4 communications guy at the time. He was out wading and casting in the fog or and man, it was just a cool shot, and that made the opening for the show for about 10 years, I think. So it was a fun story, and so it's neat to get back here today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot, great trout fishery, and a great place to hold this ceremony today. Don, did you want to say something about a radio station?
You know what? Yeah, it's time for a radio shout-out time.
Let's do that.
And we are so excited to welcome WJSQ to our family of affiliates, and they're in Athens. They're in Athens, Tennessee, and man, 101.7. So anyway, anyone listening out there in the Athens area, we are glad to have you on board. Thanks to Karen Webb for making it happen, and our sponsor there. Rural One, the leader in outdoor in rural lending. In rural lending.
There you go.
So anyway, glad to have you, and good to be here.
Yeah,
welcoming them.
If you follow the show, you probably know we're on a few radio stations. I think it's around 22 now. But also, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you want to watch us, you can do that. If you want to listen, you can listen. So,
exactly.
It's always a fun show. I hope everyone enjoys them and gets a little bit out of each one of them. And today, I think it's going to be a good one. Let's jump in and meet Alan. Alan, tell us about yourself and what you do for TVA, and then we'll get into kind of some of the things that's going on around us here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And thanks again for having me. Hello, everyone. Alan Clare. So I have responsibility for a river and resource stewardship organization. And so that's a smorgasbord of responsibilities, right? So natural resources, which is, part of the responsibilities today. But then also our TVA Police and Emergency Management Services, or river management. So they're the folks that are responsible. I talked about river flow and temperatures and oxygenation and all of that. Also, our real estate organization. And lastly, our dam safety organization, which is responsible for the structural integrity of these 104 or so dams that we're responsible for here in the valley.
Okay, awesome. Speaking of flow, I think about the fishermen, and how do folks know what the flow is going to be, and how they know when's a safe time to go fishing, and what's a good time to hit these different waters that y'all control that on?
Yeah, so there's an app. There's an app for that, right? So
there's always an app.
There's always an app. So there's an app that they can go online and look at everything from river levels, flow. And there's also a vibrant network of various social media sites where fishermen share information as well.
Yeah, we get questions all the time. They'll call and want to know about the flows. Like, well, That's going to be TVA or sometimes Corps of Engineers. So you got to check those resources and see what the flow is going to be.
Yeah, those TVA apps have been a lifesaver. Someone's been trying to work and fish in Tennessee. Other states don't have that opportunity to just look on an app, so that's been really great. And if you're fishing a tailwater particularly, you know how you're going to fish. If you're going to wade fish, you want the water to be off and give it time to come down and watch when it comes up. If you're in a boat, you obviously want to have water in most cases. So it matters how you're going to fish as to when you can fish. But it's great that you can at least plan a day out to do that.
Yeah. Well, you were mentioning, we were talking earlier before the show about being safe. You know, if the water's up, definitely it's a safety hazard. It could be a safety hazard. But you got to watch those boats too. People will be in boats at that point. You know, so pick your time.
Yeah, you don't want the water to bottom out on you, and you don't want, if you're in a boat and if you're wade fishing, you should be aware of when that water's coming to make sure you don't cross the creek and be ready to backpedal. You know, different tailwaters come up at different rates, and you should know that social media part. People talk about how much time there is to get in and out of different places.
Don't want the water.
Better be safe than sorry. Yeah, it's cold water too, so there you got some serious risk there, and the cooler times of the year especially.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what fish are behind us. What are we going to catch in the South Holston, and what were released today, and what goes on here on this part of the water? So
the South Holston is arguably one of the best tailwater fisheries in the East, I would say, and it is, over the years it has improved greatly due to water quality improvements. As of now, it is a premier wild trout fishery, or wild brown trout fishery. All the browns, we haven't stocked the brown trouts here since 2003.
Wow!
And their abundance is high. There's a lot of fish, so you will have fishermen that. That you're going to catch brown trout if you're fishing, but there's also rainbow trout that are stocked by Fish and Wildlife Service and to some degree by our agency, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and those rainbow trout are stocked at a larger size. They're quote born in the river at 9 inches, so they do pretty well, and they have their following, and some of them fish survive multiple years and get larger, and the brown trout certainly get larger. And the fish that were stocked today was just to show an example of what kind of fish that are stocked when we do stock. And when we normally stock, we'll stock fish by the several hundred, and we'll use pipes and tube them right to the water.
Right.
At usually at higher generation. But we stock throughout the year with the rainbows, and the nice thing about it is we do claim to have a wild trout fishery. And for some people that fish, they want to catch a wild fish. And they can harvest fish. They can still have 7 fish. The krill the size limit is you can harvest anything under 16 inches. Can't have anything between 16 to 22 to protect those highly valued bigger fish, and you can have one over 22 if you catch a trophy and you want to keep it for that purpose or any purpose.
And that's very doable here, isn't it?
It's doable, yeah. Certain times of the year are better than others for that, and there's a lot for any fisherman here. If you're a really technical fly fisher, that you can get technical in a hurry.
Yeah.
You can fish bait, you can fish spinners, and different times of year are better. Different times of day are better for those different things.
Well, speaking of the fish and having a wild stream, wild brown trout population, a large part of that success could be contributed to TVA and the weir dams that they put in to help control that oxygen.
Absolutely. This river is nothing like it was. And the people that told me when I came on with the agency almost 30 years ago, they told me what this river was like, and it's not like that at all anymore. We've got great flows, great oxygen, and over the decades, those fish have responded. Now we've got lots of fish. So
that is something we absolutely put a lot of focus on, is water quality. We do a lot of testing. Actually, we've invested heavily in our reservoir improvement program, and so that's everything from oxygen levels. We spend somewhere around $2 million a year on liquid oxygen that we put in the case of South Holston here in our tailwaters. And that, along with the labyrinth weir dam you see behind us, helps to contribute to maintain proper oxygen levels, but then also flow and temperature and all of these other factors, right, to support our aquatic life.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, for the radio folks, let's describe in words what the labyrinth weir dam is.
So it essentially provides a tortuous flow, right? So and by so for example, when we're generating, you'll see the water levels come up, and it essentially acts like a waterfall. And that water flowing over the weir dam, through the labyrinth, is what pulls in oxygen and helps to increase the oxygen levels in the water.
Right. And then it helps with the flow during non-generation.
Absolutely.
times, right?
Yes, as well. It helps to control the flow. Yeah.
Well, and I've seen this is do low-head dams do the same type of work? I saw a low-head dam, or further down a little bit, but that kind of
on the Clinch River, they'll call them re-regulation dams, and what they do, they're able to pulse water, fill it, and then at the rate that drops out, it maintains the flow in the river.
Okay.
And those minimum flows are what defines the ability of that river to hold fish. So it's great to have adequate minimum flows.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that conversation too, so we also have what we call oxygenating hubs, right? Aerating hubs.
Okay.
So like our turbines and our hydro plants actually will pull in air as well, which also helps. And of course, that's the more cost-effective way, right, of oxygenating our water, because there is a cost, obviously, to the liquid oxygen supply.
Gotcha. Well, not only water resources, but I mean, y'all are protecting lands too. Y'all have a lot of public lands.
293,000 acres.
Yeah, that's a lot to manage.
It is.
I just looked on your website earlier. I mean, there's a lot of hunting, fishing, hiking, biking. Right here at Osceola Island. I don't know if we said that, Osceola Island, right? Correct?
It is, yeah.
It's where we are today, and there's hiking here and trails and some biking nearby and boating access. But what all do y'all have for recreation and for folks to come check out your properties? If it's not this one,
Yeah. So, I mean, you touched on all the four key areas, right? So it's the fishing, obviously, world class. Jason's mentioned it a few times. But in addition to that, we also have tremendous hiking trails, all across our 7-state jurisdiction. Biking trails. We've got some really incredible bike trails. I mean, competitive, bike. So everything from beginner to, those that are looking for something a little more challenging. And then, of course, hunting and camping as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some folks forget about that sometimes when they're looking for places to go, and there's opportunity,
right,
even outside of our wildlife management areas, like with TVA and others. So that's
and then,
cool.
Of course, all the marinas too on our lakes, right? So boating. Yeah. I mean, I live in Chattanooga, and I can tell you the amount of marinas and boats you see out on the lake on a nice day. So.
Oh man, yeah,
for sure. One thing I wanted to talk about too: 180,000 non-residents come here and fish. We're so close to Bristol, Virginia right now. I'm sure there's a lot of folks that come over. It's amazing what our resources offer for non-residents. People.
Yeah, I mean, this area is just one of them. That 180,000 is for the whole state, I assume. And
well, yeah.
Yeah, but a place like the South Holston River, I know, draws a lot of non-resident anglers. Not only because it's close to two borders, but I've got colleagues in Pennsylvania that talk about people coming here to fish for trout, which is pretty neat because Pennsylvania is supposed to have great trout fishing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the numbers I'm hearing are actually a little higher than that. I'm hearing over 500,000 that come, which obviously that's millions of dollars in recreational spend, which helps to boost our local economies. And it's really part of what makes this area just such a great place to live, work, and play.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it up in this area for sure.
Hey, Alan.
Tennessee.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, no, just the whole
there.
state of Tennessee is a great place to be.
I know. And Alan, just curious. I know you're relatively new in your current position.
I
right?
am. Correct.
Okay. And you came from kind of a different part of TVA. Tell us a little bit about.
I did.
About
yeah.
that.
So I've spent 33 years on the generation side. So
Wow.
Coal, gas, hydro. Even a little bit of solar, I've had different responsibilities. And so coming over into the natural resources and, with dam safety and TVA police and all these other things has really been a very enriching experience.
I bet.
On the generation side, you tend to see these support organizations differently. But coming over here and witnessing firsthand, it's been a rewarding experience and something I'm really, blessed to have had the opportunity to experience.
Good. Good deal.
Well, now that you're on this side of things with rivers and resources stewardship, do you find yourself out enjoying those resources and fishing and doing some stuff like that?
Not as much I would like, but at every opportunity. I love the outdoor, biking and hiking mostly. I don't fish as much. I was here for a couple months, I think it was maybe 2 months ago, for a fly fishing event. We actually had a similar public event. And that was awesome. I was like 1 of 3 to catch a fish, so I was lucky that day, right? So, but it was a lot of fun. We had Trout Unlimited and a number of other partners out here, and it was a great experience. I can see how folks can get hooked on fly fishing.
Yeah.
Well, Frank knows how to catch them, so I can hook y'all up, and y'all can.
It's definitely an art. I learned that.
Well, Frank, tell us what's your favorite type of fishing up around this area?
Well, I live in Nashville, and I've got some local trout water there, but it's very limited compared to coming to East Tennessee. And you even if you were to travel from Nashville to, say, Bristol area to fish South Holston and Watauga tailwaters, and the generation is not right, you can always skip up into the mountains and fish some great wild trout water there. So that's what I like to do when I come to this part of the world, is make sure I'm fishing one of those two things, because that's the true wild trout mountains. Obviously, we don't have in Nashville area.
And I know you don't travel without a fishing rod. You've always got one.
Don't. Yeah.
There's always a time to cast a line a little bit.
And I think this trip is one of those trips.
His last name isn't Fish for now.
I love it. One of our commissioners always jokes, Frank Fish.
When he invites him to the podium to give a report, it's always Frank Fish instead of Fish.
So now I get tongue tied, but
that's all right.
But where was I headed? I had a thought and I lost it.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Well, were we going to talk about the event that happened today?
Well,
later?
We can cover that some more. First, I know what it was. I wanted you to talk about your folks up here, your guys that work in this area.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did such a great job.
We got a great crew of biologists in East Tennessee in general, but the trout biologists are so dedicated. They do all the wild trout population work in the mountains. We know to the number how many native brook trout populations we have in the state, and it's over 100. And they do work to restore brook trout into new waters and recover old waters. They also work these tailwaters. We do an annual sample to just see how things are going, to make sure that what we expect to be happening is happening, make sure our regs are in line with what we're seeing, and that's they do a great job. And they do outreach. They come talk to fishing clubs. They talk to TVA when there's questions about water needs, and TVA helps us get our water right to do our samples. Really appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, we've got a great crew up here, and we have hatcheries in East Tennessee that also stock trout, and they coordinate well with the Fish and Wildlife Service hatcheries, and it's as this event was about, it's a partnership. So we get a lot done.
Yeah, and then just recently, Sally Petrie was recognized.
Oh, that's right.
What was her award?
Sally Petrie is our relatively new river and streams biologist in East Tennessee. So she does a lot of trout work, and she has gotten. She was recognized by Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency as our biologist of the year for the fisheries division.
Yeah.
So it was it's an honor for her, and we're honored to have her working with us. So it's great.
I think it probably had a lot to do with us having her on as a Wildcast guest last year.
I think so.
That or over the $500,000 worth of funding she brought in to do some good trout habitat work.
There's reality there.
Well, there's a great crew all across the state. I mean, we got great people. They do great work, but I always love coming up in the eastern part of the state. I think the regs are coming up, right? We're going to be setting regulations for the next couple seasons.
Yeah, in a commission meeting very soon.
Yeah.
We'll be finalized. Hopefully, the commission will vote on our proposal package, and there's several. They're actually keeping on the trout theme. There's some changes to our delayed harvest areas, adding one, changing a date on another. Pretty minor stuff, but it's just optimizing and generally providing more opportunity for trout fishing.
Yeah, not a lot going to change.
And we're on the 2-year cycle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so we're going to set it for effective March of 22. and then we will let it alone for a full year, like an extra year. We used to go every year, now we go every other year. And we hope that gives some stability to anglers, not worrying about what changes all the time. And it gives us some time to really watch how things are going for an extra year before we start tinkering with it sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
And there'll be a new hunting guide come out, or a new fishing guide, as those seasons change. They sometimes change a little bit.
We'll do it, as I understand it, we do it, even though we do the regulations every 2 years, we're going to do a new guide every year just to freshen it up and maybe tweak the information a little bit.
Just in case there's anything changes. Well, let's talk a little bit more about today. I think it was a good event. I think it was great to see all the different states and departments and agencies working together. We did stock a few fish, so people are out there enjoying them now, and hopefully they catch a few. But what's some key takeaways from today?
The partnerships. We've touched on it so many times today, right? I think it's just really good to see projects like this that allow us to work towards a common goal, and then seeing these outcomes. These relationships we have with our partners like TWRA and Georgia Department of Natural Resources and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They've been in place for some time, right? And we actually see them growing even more effective over the years. As we continue to look for opportunities to how we can better serve the needs of the people of the Valley. So to me, that's really where I get the enjoyment, and just, proud and blessed to be part of just a fantastic organization that gets to work with fantastic people and partners like Jason we've got here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great to work together. So.
And I think the Southeast is kind of unique in that way. I know when the U.S. Fish and Wildlife were speaking earlier today at the podium, they were talking about some of the challenges out west and how, sometimes some groups can get at loggerheads on issues, but we tend to not do that here. It seems like it's a much more cooperative effort.
And that's driven by relationships, right, Don? So getting here, meeting people in person, getting to know those folks, and so that way, look, we're not always going to agree. There's going to be times we're going to have to agree to disagree. But getting on the phone, going and meeting someone and having those conversations, that's one of the things I do feel we're very effective at in this part of the country.
Yeah, this is the 6th year of this MOA being in effect, and we're renewing it for another 3. And I can remember a decade plus ago when we didn't have the support from Congress or to keep that emphasis at the federal hatcheries, and that's what really triggered this need to get all the partners involved to support the federal hatcheries, and TVA is a huge partner. We even talked about the money, but they're funding all the fish that are basically a lot of the trout, 80% of the trout that are going into the trout fisheries in the valley, and without that, the service would have a hard time producing those fish. We'd have to try to do more with what we've got in our agency. So it's really, it looks good, and it's been a pretty quiet program, but that's because it's working.
Right. We want to keep it that way.
Not now. Exactly. It's on Wildcats. It's out.
and I do remember, Frank, when it was touch and go there for a while.
I can remember doing
federal budgets were getting cut, and
I was on Fox News National talking about the value of trout and why we need to keep these trout hatcheries working. It wasn't a given thing at the time. So
wow. And I don't know if we've mentioned it. How many more fish are going to be stocked in this program? What's the estimated number of stockings?
Well, for the Tennessee Valley, that's off the top of my head. I know we do about 2.2 million trout a year. That counts the Cumberland River system and some of our other stockings. But generally a tailwater like this is probably getting 30 to 50,000 rainbows a year, and we don't need to put the browns in, which is nice because we can put them other places where we need them, like with some tailwaters. One thing I want to point out is that a lot of the work that TVA has done has made the conditions better so that fish last longer in the river, and we don't have to put as many in. So there's a cost savings there. In addition from that, the big investment in water quality not only gives the quality of life benefits, all the benefits you get from that, but it's cheaper to manage too from a trout side. So it's great.
Yeah, and it's not just the fish, right? That obviously our communities are benefiting from this as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go back to. I mean, the access and the areas, like this is a nice place to come hike and come walk and do things. But this area right here has 3 boat access points, so there's a lot of places to put in a drift boat or whatever. And then there's, like, you see 3 people back here fishing right now. Great places to wade and bank access. It's just amazing what there is to offer here. So I want to make sure I hit on this before we have to close out. But your website is at tva.org or .com or .gov. So tva.gov is a great resource to see what all the work y'all are doing and check out those flows.
All
and
sorts of great information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So make sure you do that and look for them on social media and follow them. I know they're out there. So that's always good. One thing I did have marked down here, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. We're going to run out, but nuisive and invasive species. You know, we're lucky to not have Asian carp or silver carp in these waters, and we're all working together to keep that from happening. You know,
Sure.
But there's also the zebra mussels and the vegetation and different things that we work together on and partnership on to help control. And I know TVA does a lot of work there with us as well.
Yeah, that's been some more challenging than others. You know, Asian carp certainly is a big concern right now. That's another great example of partnership. You know, where we're looking at ways to try to keep that particular species of fish from coming upstream into our system. And we're looking at a number of things right now, barriers, physical barriers and things to try to keep them out. But they're pretty prolific, you know, species of fish. So that's an ongoing challenge. Vegetation management is another big one, you know, particularly in some of our shallower lakes like Gunnersville, for example.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with this eelgrass issue, which tends to break away, flow downstream, and ends up clogging or cooling systems at our generation facilities and some of these other issues. And then, you know, and it's balance, right? Because the fishermen love it, because the fish love it, but our plants don't like it because it's creating problems for us, you know, operationally. And so trying to find that right balance, you know, in terms of managing that particular aspect of our responsibility. But yeah, I mean, these are things, and you know, obviously everything we do in concert with our partners to make sure we're in lockstep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you do, and I think it's, like I said, we've said it multiple times. Great partnership, great. We're coming together, work together with these different states and organizations to make things happen, and it's fun. It's great. Thank you guys for being on. Remember TVA.org. Remember tnwildlife.org.
TVA.gov.
Listen at me. .gov.
You'll get it right eventually.
TVA.gov.
Just Google Tennessee Valley Authority.
There you go. That's the easiest way. What am I doing? But if you want to know more about Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, that's tnwildlife.org. You can buy a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com, and you can follow us on social media. We're out there. Also follow TVA on social media. Alan, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And great job by you guys too. I mean, this actually helps to spread the word and all of these opportunities that we have here in our backyard.
Yeah, just trying to get it out best we can. Frank, thank you.
Thank you. It's always fun to come on.
Go fishing.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Got a little time today. The weather's going to hold off a while.
Yeah.
That's all that's left today.
Let's go fishing. That's a good one to end on. Don, thank you.
Thank you.
Todd, thank you for running the board. This is Tennessee Wildcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do.